Okay, and with that, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Community Business Forum held by members of the Board of County Commissioners. I'm Dylan Blaylock with Clackamas County's Public and Government Affairs Department, and I'll be coordinating the public comments for today's meeting. Tonight's forum has been produced in collaboration with the county's Department of Transportation and Development. Tonight from the Board of County Commissioners, we have Chair Judy Smith, Vice Chair Paul Savas, and Commissioner Mark Schull. My thanks to all of you for being here. I'm going to go over the agenda for tonight in just a moment, but first, Vice Chair Savas is going to provide some opening remarks. Vice Chair Savas.
Thank you, Dylan. And thank you all for joining us today. On behalf of the rest of the Board of County Commissioners, I would like to welcome all of you to the Park Avenue Community Business Forum. Tonight's topic is business ideas in the Park Avenue Community Project area. Tonight's meeting is the opportunity for members of the business community, primarily business owners, property owners, and those who with ideas about businesses to publicly share ideas related to the business and commercial uses in the Park Avenue area, project area along McLaughlin primarily, in unincorporated Clackamas County within one half mile of the Park Avenue station. And these are typically ideas that are not already part of the Park Avenue plan. These would be unique or different ideas that have not been suggested, introduced, or whatnot. We do have a keen interest in this matter, and for tonight's discussion, here's what we'd like to hear about. Ideas, number one, ideas related to business and commercial uses in the Park Avenue Community Project area, impacts of the Community Advisory Committee recommended development and design standards, the Park Avenue plan or draft plan. And lastly, I'll note this, we may respond to some of your comments, but mostly we're here to listen tonight and to hear from as many people as possible. I would like to say that Commissioner Schrader had a meeting that got shifted in time, so she may not be able to join us, and we're expecting Commissioner Fisher to be joining us soon. And with that, I will pass it on to Dylan.
Thank you, Vice Chair Savas. I'll note that Commissioner Fisher has joined us now. She's right here, and there she is. So great. Welcome, Commissioner Fisher. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and share tonight's agenda so everyone is going to be aware of how we are proceeding. So let me get that up here. Very good. Let me first state that everyone who wants a chance to speak will be able to at the appropriate time tonight. All right, so we'll go through this. First, during the business ideas discussion section, should they want to, we are going to hear from two individuals who sent ideas in advance of this meeting to our staff. They will provide their ideas and field any questions from the board. They will each have 5 minutes to provide their ideas and answer questions. Those individuals are Roseanne Johnson and Tom Weaver, just to go ahead and cue you up now. I will also read an email from an individual who provided an idea but could not be with us tonight. After that, we will move to the business concerns section. This is an opportunity for those business owners who operate inside the study area to voice their concerns. Then we move on to hear from the Park Avenue Community Advisory Committee Chair, Valerie Chapman, which will last 5 minutes. Then we will move to more of an open forum with all comments and questions from attendees. Ooh, sorry, my child. An open forum with all comments and questions from attendees. First, we will hear from other Park Avenue Community Advisory Committee members and others who live inside the area. Then we will hear comments from others who live or own a business outside of the Park Avenue area. And just to be clear on the area we are talking about tonight, I'm going to show a map which shows the study area. This is off of our Planning and Park Avenue website. And if anyone clicks here, if someone could please share that in the chat, Garrett or Karen, you can go ahead and click on this map specifically, and you will see exactly the area that we are talking about. Altogether, that should take us to about 6:30, and we are targeted to end by 6:30 tonight. We will do our best to make sure we get to hear from people who want to speak tonight. This meeting is being recorded and will be archived on the county's YouTube channel. Okay. And with that, we are going to get started. First, we are going to open up the business ideas discussion section, where we will hear from two individuals who sent ideas in advance of this meeting to our staff. Roseanne Johnson and Tom Weaver, if you could both hit your raise hand buttons on Zoom, please, and we will get to you very quickly here. You can do that by, well, it's the raise hand feature at the top or bottom, depending on the device you have. I see Roseanne Johnson has gone ahead and raised her hand, so very good. Roseanne Johnson, you have 5 minutes with the board, and be sure to leave time for any questions they may have. You can start out by stating your name, and if you live, own a business and or own commercial property within the Park Avenue study area. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you and good evening, commissioners and Chair Smith. I saw her there, no longer, but maybe she'll come back. So this evening, I am representing the Home Builders Association of Metropolitan Portland, and we represent builders and developers who construct all types of housing, ranging from your typical single-family detached house that might be more historically conventional in some people's minds, through attached product, ADUs, remodels, mixed use development, and that is what I am here to speak with you about tonight. HBA's proposal for the Park Avenue Community Project area is to consider applying a vertical housing development zone to an area that includes part or all of the 1/2 mile radius around the center of the Park Avenue plan, and extends south on McLaughlin or 99E, and extends perhaps 1 to 2 blocks east and west. And of course, I defer to staff and the commission on the best place for that vertical housing development zone, southerly endpoint along McLaughlin. It should be noted that I am part of the Housing Strategies Project Work Group focused on the Phase 1 zoning code amendments for housing in the commercial zones. So that's amendments to the zoning code in Clackamas County that can be applied to residential construction in the commercial zones. So that's that pink area in the Park Avenue plan, and extends beyond the Park Avenue circle. So within that body work group, I have already proposed the ancillary idea of a vertical housing development zone as a policy tool that the commission could use combined with the zoning code amendments that are currently under formation and are the true task of that work group. The VHDZ, as I will use its acronym here forward, it can be a tool to catalyze and incentivize more mixed use and multi-dwelling housing, market rate and or affordable with a capital A along McLaughlin. So I want to submit that this business proposal meets 3 of the discrete goals in the implementation plan that the Park Avenue Community Action Committee has come up with. And the first one is that it increases employment opportunities by allowing for the commercial or the retail component on the bottom to come in for new development, new business opportunities. Number 2, it supports the diverse and accessible housing choices that are part of the implementation plan, because it would really give a lot of leverage for the commission and staff to come up with a mixed income community that would include market rate as well as affordable housing options in different sizes. With that, the third one that I would submit that this VHDZ supports in the implementation plan is the community gathering objective or intention, because a mixed use development can really be an anchoring spot for residents and other patrons of boutique businesses or seasonal businesses to come and collaborate. So with that, I would like to just offer that, a lot of times your staff has heard and you have heard along McLaughlin that developers really can't make projects pencil there for housing. So I would just offer that without more tools, such as what your staff is already doing with the Housing Strategies project, the projects will never, come to light. So the tools that we're talking about are ways to get projects to pencil and to provide new businesses and housing opportunities. We're really, as a region, of course, grappling with how to make the most with the land, the actual land that we have, and you as an county with urban area, in this case, it really is grappling with how to provide the best use and incentives for the best use of the land that you have, namely for housing and for businesses in this case. So as you are aware, based on your session yesterday with the city of Estacada, the tax abatement would be 20% per equalized floor above commercial and retail. So that tax abatement is only on the structural improvements for residential only and up to 10 years.
Roseanne, we have hit our 5-minute
Okay.
time limit here. If you could go ahead and finish up, please.
Yeah, and so I will just wrap up because I think you understand the convention of that. But one thing I just want to emphasize is that yes, the county does collect taxes from its taxpayers and decides through programs and budgeting how to spend those taxes. This vertical housing development zone that you can apply over whatever area you want would simply be a way of deciding, just like you do when you budget and you create programs and projects with taxpayer dollars. This is a way to say, rather than collecting those taxes, we're going to let that money be used in this very specific, discrete way to meet the goals and objectives that we've already laid out for this area. So with that, I will conclude. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Roseanne.
Thank you, Roseanne.
Okay, great. And we are still looking for Tom Weaver. If you are there and I just don't see you, please raise your hand. I don't see a matching handle. And I'm still not seeing one. So, okay. So I guess we will move on. I will relay an email that we received from someone who couldn't be here tonight for this section. It is from Molly Cunningham, a resident living within the project area who served on the Park Avenue Community Advisory Committee. In addition to everything, and she says this, in addition to everything our committee discussed as businesses that we'd like to see in our Park Avenue area and wishing to bring a focus on our trolley trail as a strong community asset, I would love to see a business that focuses on recreational use of the trail, especially bike rentals. Many folks do not have bikes or the wherewithal to transport them if out of the immediate biking area, or like me, they have old bikes not quite trustworthy. Maybe too, the business or another could offer box lunch picnic fare to take along the ride, then stop and eat at the park or benches along the way. I think it would be fun. And perhaps at some point, some pop-up canopied little craft vendors or food wagons in a designated area could be set up. Please give my regards to all and thanks for all of the wonderful work. Again, that is from Molly Cunningham. So thank you for that, Molly. Okay.
So Dylan, before we, that was the end of the idea concept stuff, and Mr. Weaver has not.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So I just want to let the audience know it was anticipated that we would actually have some kind of a presentation from the business group or a business group with some ideas, and that was what was anticipated tonight. And in reading the most recent emails, it appears that that's going to be more today be realized in the sense of those business owners actually replying to or responding to or expressing their concerns about the plan, the draft plan. So I just want to let people know we anticipated a more meaty conversation with regards to new ideas. So I just want to make that clarification and express that. And Dylan, I guess we're off to the next section.
Yes, although one of our producers just did let me know it is possible that Tom is on the phone, because I do have 3 phone numbers. So Tom, if you do happen to be on the phone, Tom Weaver, you can hit *9 to let me know it's you. Nope, not seeing it. So, okay, yes, we will go ahead and move on. I will share my screen again real quick. Thank you for that, Vice Chair Savas. So we'll move on to the business concerns section. This is an opportunity for those business owners who operate inside the study area to voice their concerns. If there are business owners and commercial property owners from the area who would like to speak, you can go ahead and raise your hand now. The raise hand feature again is at the top or bottom of your Zoom bar, depending on your device. Very good. I see we've got a couple hands that have gone up, and looks like 3. I would suggest, since we have the time, commissioners, I guess Vice Chair Savas, I see you. Do you want to limit it to 5 minutes like the first section? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, I don't think there's a reason to go to 3 minutes. I think 5 minutes should cover it.
Very good. Okay. So the first is going to be Weston. I'm sorry if I pronounce it incorrectly. Weston, maybe it's Sene or Seni. You can go ahead and unmute yourself. Thank you very much. Please start out by stating, thank you. Please start out by stating your name and if you live or own a business and or commercial property within the study area. Thank you.
Yes, I run Cascadia Motors, which is right on the corner of Courtney and McLaughlin Boulevard. I'm sorry, I'm just curious. Can you guys see video of me or not?
No, we only do audio for any of the public
that's
meetings.
Just fine. I just wanted to know if I had to be concerned about the background because,
okay,
you know. Anyways, I really have 2 points, and one is that I like the intention of this project, but I think the idea is a little bit misguided in the sense that McLaughlin Boulevard is a major thoroughfare. And the idea that it would become all of a sudden become like a walkable place that would, you know, bring in all this mixed use residential and stuff like this, I think is pretty misguided. And I think if you just walk down McLaughlin Boulevard, you know, it illustrates exactly why. You know, developing Oakfield Road or River Road, you know, by contrast, are great ideas. Those are, you know, single lane roads with lower speed limit, a lot less traffic. And, you know, what you guys are talking about doing on those roads makes a lot more sense. But McLaughlin Boulevard, I can't imagine anyone wanting to move into a new apartment on McLaughlin Boulevard in a new mixed use building. The second thing I wanted to say is that it seems, maybe this is a bit dramatic to say, but it's a little bit of a slap in the face to the use restrictions. And I understand that people are getting grandfathered in and so on and so on, but the use restrictions regardless are kind of a slap in the face to all of the automotive businesses that have pretty much made McLaughlin Boulevard useful to anybody and to all their landlords and everybody that's been around for I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years. Automotive use is pretty much, I don't know what the statistics are, but I'm sure it's at least 50% of the commerce that goes on that boulevard there. And to say, okay, now we're going to start pushing these guys out, you know, I don't really think it's right. So that's really, those are really my 2 points.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Weston. Appreciate it. Okay, next up is going to be Dan McLaughlin. If you can go ahead and please state your name and if you live or own a business and or commercial property within the Park Avenue study area. I can see you've unmuted yourself. Great, so you are on.
Hi, my name is Dan McLaughlin and I own the property right next to 7-Eleven. There's 2 lots that I pay taxes on. I'm currently leasing that to the business that's there. And I operated the business for 15 years there prior to that. And the 4 points I have was that people have worked their whole lives to be able to own these businesses, these properties, and lease them out or sell them on contracts to people to operate their businesses. And to come in and change the zoning now is just, I feel, a bad idea. I'd like to see, instead of restrict, prohibit, limit, maybe encourage or enhance as words you use. My average employee when I was operating business, which was about 4+ years ago, was around $60,000 to $70,000 a year per tech. And as I drove down through there today, I noticed in that general area of the map, there's 16 auto related businesses there that are up and running, which is way more than 50% of the businesses, I would say. And if each one of those businesses has an average employee earnings anywhere near what mine was years ago, I would say there's a lot of taxes being paid there. And to go in and then redevelop it and give tax advantages to people that are doing it is going to cost money, not make money, if that is indeed what you're trying to do here. So those are the 4 points that I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Dan. Okay, and next we are going to go to, Lori Sonnenfeld. Lori Sonnenfeld, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself. You could please state your name and if you live or own a business and or commercial property within the Park Avenue study area. Lori, I still see you are muted. You need to unmute yourself. I will go ahead and hit the button to also ask you to unmute. So hopefully that makes it easier. Lori, you still seem muted. So I'm not sure if you can hear me or get unmuted or not. Well, we will come back to you in a moment, Lori. Let's see, I'll leave your hand up. Hopefully we can solve that. We have one more hand up. The name is Punky Scott. So Punky Scott, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself and please state your name if you live, own a business and or commercial property within the Park Avenue study area. Thank you very much.
Before Punky speaks, this is Thelma. I'm at Punky's house and I have a few comments from MABA, the McLaughlin Area Business Alliance. MABA's focus for tonight's meeting is to have the business restrictive wording removed or changed in the draft Park Avenue plan. What MABA is not up to is to stop this draft plan from moving forward, but rather to alter the restrictive wording in it. We desire to have business-friendly, not business restrictive wording in the plan. The restrictive words on the draft design and development pages of the plan as it exists today are prohibit, limit, exempt, and reduce. The business and properties affected by these restrictions are some of the best in Clackamas County. These businesses pay hefty property taxes. They have always supported the school district, the fire district, the parks district, library district, sewer water district, vector control district, etc. Most of these businesses pay much higher than minimum wage to their employees. And their employees also live in the Oak Grove, Jennings Lodge, North Clackamas area by choice, spend their money in Clackamas County, and also pay Clackamas County property taxes. We are talking about the McLaughlin property owners who recently agreed to tax themselves when they signed petitions to join the county lighting district to provide a safer corridor through our communities. Chair Smith and commissioners, as the final decision makers in the matter, thank you for letting us have this opportunity to speak to you tonight. So do you want to say something? Punky's here also, and so is Sandra McLeod.
I would just agree with everything that was just said. And I have big concerns about what's happening on McLaughlin, and the gentleman from Cascade Motors hit it exactly on target, talking about that McLaughlin is a major highway. It's not a little pathway through a neighborhood, and the traffic is a lot, and to restrict what's going on right now and could be improved upon, and the taxes that are being paid by the property owners along that are significant, and to make it a little homegrown pathway with without those businesses is, to me, very foolish. So we appreciate your consideration on this matter.
Okay.
And I'd like to have Sandra McLeod add to that if she will.
So I think everybody knows I'm a commercial broker. I've put in probably 30% of all the businesses along McLaughlin by either leasing or selling them their sites. And I have my own companies. And I own buildings myself, so I have a wide breadth of experience with these kind of restrictive languages. When I was on the Park Avenue Citizens Advisory Board, and the consultant that came to them was part of the consulting team, even said that the mixed use was not financially feasible, and that they used the number $1 million an acre, which is 1/2 of what the value actually is selling for. And so that would mean that a property like Punky Scott's on McLaughlin, the Barmer, its value would be $3 million rather than the $6 million that it's actually marketable on. So if at the $1 million an acre, it was a 3% capitalization rate, it would mean it'd be a 0 capitalization rate with a mixed use product, because you couldn't buy the land for that amount. Additionally, where would that money come from to even put in a mixed use? So I would like to see, if you actually have the people who are advocating this, where's your proof of concept that restricting this kind of development that is already there and that wants to continue to be there would even, if you did do it, how is that going to spur redevelopment when we already know the number is a 0 capitalization rate? Nobody in their right mind wants 0 on their money.
That's been 5 minutes for the call, Commissioner Savas. I'm not sure if we want to.
Well, yeah, well, I was assuming that they're all individual people using the same phone line, that they would be, I think, allowed the 5 minutes each. I think things are reasonable. So I don't think
it's your call. Okay, we'll keep it going.
So the amount of jobs and the job and economic growth on these kind of businesses, they are essential to the middle income of America and to the economic growth within the economy, because we have those people that are paid this well move into Clackamas County, they spend their money in Clackamas County, and we don't want to have a situation where Mac and Auto Body couldn't find anything to purchase to have their automotive company. They moved to Vancouver. We don't want to have our businesses that are viable, successful, and we bring people in from all over the region to buy cars here. They would spend money here, and we should be looking to create job-centered economic growth. And that's what is needed. And we do, like Dan, I think it was, that mentioned the properties along the corridor of McLaughlin, the MR1 zone, the L1 zone, those are where growth should be, where the mixed use should be, because then when they come to get their cars, they would then go there and have meals. They could have open markets, all kinds of things would be available. But McLaughlin is a major corridor, and the businesses that are successful there are the ones who can do the amount of volume. And notice every car dealer, most of the buildings that car places are in are the nicest. They're painted well, they're lit well, they have landscaping and lots of jobs. And lots of jobs. And that's what the focus should be. And this language is restrictive, and it will devalue everybody's property value. And the whole concept of, well, it would be grandfathered in. But on 15705 Southeast McLaughlin, I put a retailer in there, and they went to go get a alarm permit, and they were told they had to go through a change of use zoning. We had to hire an attorney, land use attorney, to straighten it all out. So if just going in for an alarm permit is going to trigger, now if it would have been, his lease could not be consummated if we had to go through a change of use, because the amount of stuff necessary to do that would have been so onerous, the building would have sat vacant. And that's not what we want to do. We do not want restrictive languages. And if this language was in play, that building would sit and go to rot. And I have tons of more examples. I'm trying to get it down to 5 minutes here.
It's actually, Punky, that's been 5 minutes now.
Okay.
So good. I think that's.
Thank you for allowing us to speak.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, just for the people that are listening or maybe not really sure what this means, maybe Jennifer, you could help with this. Jennifer, could you speak a little bit, the words restrictive, when it comes to if these properties are changed to conditional use? You heard some of the concerns at the prior meeting. If they wanted to make improvements, they may or may not be able to make improvements. And so could you just clarify that nuance there, please?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So I'm Jennifer Hughes. I'm the County Planning Director. If they become a non-conforming use under our code, so I think sometimes the testimony we hear can relate to other codes, sometimes ours, but sometimes others. There are some jurisdictions that are more restrictive than the county is. The use that's there now can stay. It can change ownership. It can have what's called normal maintenance. So things like, I want to paint the building, it needs a new roof, I'm going to re-landscape, I'm going to pave the parking area. Those things would not trigger any type of land use review, and anything that were legally required. So if the fire department said to meet fire code, you have to do an upgrade, that would also be covered. Where you can run into difficulty is in expanding that use. So if you had, for example, a 5,000 square foot building for an automotive related use and you wanted to go to an 8,000 square foot building, that would require land use review for what's called an alteration of the non-conforming use. It does not mean it will be denied, but it does mean there's a process, there's notification, there's criteria to meet, and it could be denied. So it does introduce some uncertainty when you're talking about expanding or changing the use. Maybe it's one kind of auto-oriented use and they want to change it to a different one. So there's a lot that can be done and a lot that's protected, but it does add a layer of review for certain changes.
Right. In this area of McLaughlin, are there any non-conforming uses in place in this half-mile radius around Park Avenue?
Currently, I don't know off the top of my head. I know that I don't want to just sort of punt this to Karen. I know she did the project team did some review of uses in the area, but I don't know if they evaluated which of those could be non-conforming. I know we looked at how many auto-oriented uses were in the area, and Karen has those numbers. Non-conforming uses are relatively common in the county. So I would speculate that yes, there's something out there, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, so on the other point that was made tonight to some degree and to a greater degree at the first meeting was prohibited uses. So drive-throughs, or if there was a bare piece of land there today, which there's some of that, and they wanted to put let's say an automotive business or an automotive related business, what would be prohibited
under this new plan?
Under the new zoning, under the new proposed zoning?
So auto sales lots would be prohibited, automotive repair, car washes, and drive-through. Restaurants would be allowed, but not drive-through window service, and mini storage. Those are the ones that, off the top of my head, that's the list I'm aware of.
Okay, how about a drive-through bank?
Well, it would depend on how we chose to draft it. So of course, it's important to remember that this plan can be changed. It's draft at this point. We do have some zones in the county that allow drive-throughs associated with financial institutions and do not allow drive-throughs associated with fast food. So there's a model for that, and the board could choose to pursue that either way.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Dylan, back to you.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that, Jennifer. Okay, I think Lori we're going to try Lori again. So Lori Sonnenfeld, if you could go ahead and try to unmute yourself. And if you could, are you there, Lori?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. You can go ahead and state your name, and if you live or own a business and or a commercial property in the Park Avenue study area. You have 5 minutes with commissioners. Thank you.
My name is Lori Sonnenfeld, and I live in the study area, and I also own a business. I am a realtor, and I have a small brokerage. And I've been a residential realtor for a long, long time. So couple things. People love this area for buying homes. But one thing that I hear a lot from people who want to move into the area that makes them hesitate is that there's very little to walk to. They love the trolley trail, but in terms of any kind of businesses, other than in downtown Milwaukee, and that there's really nothing to walk to. And so I wanted to mention that. That's one of the things that I really like about the proposed changes, is that it might cultivate some more interesting community-centered, community-oriented kind of businesses that would feel more local than the car sales and automotives, which do obviously bring people from all over, but they don't really serve the local community, except when we want to buy a car, which isn't every year. So there's that. The other thing is that I was hoping all along, ever since the light rail came in, and I live just a block and a half from the light rail, that around the station, immediately around the station, including on Park Avenue, on both sides of Park Avenue, that zoning might be changed, at least within a couple of blocks of McLaughlin, to allow some small businesses to go in there. Some non-automotive kind of, again, community-oriented kinds of businesses, like the bike rental, or bike repair shop, some food service, and whatever other creative ideas people come up with. That light rail station plaza is such an attractive beginning. And I think that, it really has a lot of appeal there. And it's just stops, and one side is residential to the west, and then there's McLaughlin and nothing really of interest there. Certainly, again, nothing to walk to when you get off the light rail. So I just wanted to mention that I thought that the first and second blocks along Park Avenue to the west of McLaughlin would really be an ideal location for some charming small businesses. And then all of these neighbors and people who live in this neighborhood would have something to do and someplace to go to without getting in their cars. And someplace to bike to as well on the trolley trail. So that's really it. I think you get the idea of what I'm talking about, probably.
I have a question for you, Lori, if I may. Do you own, you mentioned a business, so you're a business owner. Do you own a business on McLaughlin?
It's not on McLaughlin. It's in my home, which is north of Park by a couple blocks.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Lori. I do see that we have had some more hands go up since initially I asked for them, Vice Chair Savas. My concern is that if we keep giving individuals over 5 minutes, it will not leave that much time for the end section if we're still going to try to get 6:30. Would you like me to limit it to 3 minutes at this point or continue with the 5?
I would, yeah, well, if they're property owners, let's just navigate our way through that, and then we'll go to we'll make sure that everyone's going to have an opportunity to speak in the second section. So just want to make sure that people realize that this is for this portion for the business owners.
This is for the
property owners.
That's right. This is for business owners, not the residents. Residents come later, but I do. There have. Okay, I saw something
On the boulevard, yeah. The affected business owners.
That's fine. So you want still the 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think we have
Okay.
time for that.
Okay. Okay, next up is going to be Charlie Tiller. Charlie, go ahead and please state your name and if you're a business or commercial property, and if you live in the Park Avenue study area, which I think you do.
Yeah, so my name's Charlie Tiller, and I am a business owner and as well as commercial property owner. I own the building directly across from the end of the Max, across from 7-Eleven on the northeast corner of the intersection. And my concern with limiting the uses and or these restrictions are that any of these properties that are up and down McLaughlin that are old buildings, which there's really nothing new coming in currently. Anything that's already standing, if you limit what we can and can't use it for, as well as the remodel purposes, how are these buildings supposed to get any better? Everybody wants everything to look fresh and new and have an uplift. Limiting that just doesn't seem logical in my eyes, as well as my office is facing directly the corner here, and I can see it all day, every day. And just within the last 2 weeks, I have watched people get off the Max line and break out the brand new windows in the bus stop 3 separate times, and Clackamas County having to come deal with that. I don't think that making it more walkable or bikeable is going to do anything other than just bring more of that petty crime along. Realistically, 8 out of 10 of the people walking through the intersection are either an issue. I mean, they're either homeless people trying to figure out what they can get from 7-Eleven, or throwing a temper tantrum at the end of the Max line. And making a walking back and forth across highway is just, it doesn't make any sense in my eyes, as well as limiting, like I said, limiting the uses and or remodels of these old buildings. I mean, any old building you can go through, downtown Portland, you have a ton of old buildings that are completely remodeled that look fantastic and people love them for whatever use that they're using them for. But if you have if you own a building here and it's considered non-conforming at this point, you restrict automotive. We have an automotive business in here, and now we can't remodel the building to make it look better for the community. That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Charlie.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that, Charlie.
As it's stacking up, if they're business owners, maybe we should start. Let's go to 4 minutes, and we'll just taper it down so we can maybe look at trying to stop at around 6 or shift at 6 o'clock. So
okay, very good. Okay, next up is Jamie Mathis. Jamie, go ahead and state your name and your business or commercial properties in the Park Avenue study area. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan, and thank you, commissioners. I think I may need to recuse myself from this section. I am a business owner, as is my husband, and we also own residential property in the study area, but we do not own businesses that front McLaughlin. So would I be best suited?
Yeah, well, why don't we just put you in reserve for the next phase?
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine, Paul.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, next up is Sami Muhammad. Sami, maybe either Sami or Sami. You can unmute yourself. Yep. Go ahead and state your name and your business. Yep, there we go. Go ahead. You have 4 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Sami Muhammad. I own a property in that area, business property over there, 13600 Southeast McLaughlin. I also have a few other properties on McLaughlin and a dealership on McLaughlin. We spoke last time, and I've said it before. I think building these properties that you guys are trying to develop or trying to get developer to develop is crazy, because first of all, when you talk about the lands and how expensive the land, I got my Mazda dealership next door that's going up pretty, probably in a month or so, that's going for sale. That the dealership bought it from me, and it's 2.24 acres, just to give you an idea, with a 20,000 square feet building that's going to be well over $8 million. Well over $8 million. And you guys talking about how much it's going to cost us the lands out there to build these properties. I don't think you have any idea how expensive lands are these days. But here's the thing. The things that I see today, the attacks on dealership and how dealership don't bring anything to McLaughlin. McLaughlin is the only reason why McLaughlin has survived all these years is because of dealerships. And you guys seems to forget that. Dealership is the reason why McLaughlin has survived. If you didn't have dealership today on McLaughlin, you wouldn't have anything on McLaughlin. That's the problem with you guys that you're not realizing. Jennifer said earlier, if you expand, they might approve it, they might not. That's not true. No in this agreement, you will not approve it. You've already made your mind. Once you put that agreement, that restriction in place, you know it as well as I know, you're gonna force everything you can force. And that's the scary part. That's what scares me, what you guys are gonna do to these businesses that there's a lot of people here on McLaughlin that, me as an example, this is everything I work for, okay? This is my exit strategy. And you guys are sitting here playing with my livelihood. And I don't like that. I really don't. And I think it's scary what you guys are doing. It doesn't make any sense. These businesses are going to suffer. These properties, I'm telling you, these properties are not cheap. You're not. And I've said that to you, Paul, last time. How much it is to build every unit you're going to build. It's going to be well over $300,000. Well over that. I don't know. And I've invested in these things in the past, and I still have some apartment units and everything. I don't know how you can make it pencil out. I don't know how. Unless you guys are, you know, subsidizing a lot of it. Otherwise, it's not gonna pencil for a developer or anybody. This is the scary part, that these things that you guys are throwing out right now are making me nervous, making everybody nervous. These properties today, I am thinking right now, because of what you guys are doing, I'm thinking, is it better for me to sell now and get out of here? That's what you're doing. Is it better for me to sell and move somewhere else? Okay, I have 55 employees. Last month, my taxes last month, $245,000 payroll taxes. Last month I paid. A 25 units apartment is not going to give you that. It's not going to give you that. And you guys know that for a fact. If you own businesses, you understand. I've got salesmen are making $14,000, $15,000. What do you want to tell them? Go somewhere else and work? You know, I can appreciate that you want to clean up McLaughlin, but let's clean up the drug addicts. Let's clean up the needles. Let's clean up all the stuff that's on the street right now.
Sami, we have reached our time.
Yeah, I figured you would. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sami.
Okay, next up, we are going to go to Donald Mcharniss. Donald Mcharniss, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, state your name and your business or commercial property from the Park Avenue study area. Thank you. Donald, you are not yet unmuted. You need to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, please go. Thank you.
My name is Donald Mcharniss. I live at Willamette View Retirement Facility. 50 or 100 people walk the trolley trail every day. I bike it 3 times a week, year round. I would like to see, I don't really care what happens up on McLaughlin. The businesses are fine with me up on McLaughlin. I care about the Park Avenue area where the trolley trail crosses Park. And I'd like to see a coffee shop with ice cream right next to the trail. And all kinds of people coming off the trains would use the coffee shop. All kinds of weekend riders would buy ice cream. And there's a coffee shop in Oregon City called Coffee Rush that has that combination. I go there all the time. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Donald. And it looks like the last hand up for this section, there's not a name. The handle itself is just Olson B. So maybe someone whose last name is Olson and starts with B. If you could unmute yourself. There we go. Oh, you're gonna want to. Okay, you're gonna have to either put on some headphones or lower the volume because we're getting a tremendous amount of feedback when you
Or if you have two devices, turn off the
Right,
second.
or if you have two devices, turn off the second one, please. So Olson, I'm sorry, I don't know the first name. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and hopefully you can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very good. Go ahead and say your name and your business or commercial
Okay,
property. within
sorry
the park.
about that. It's just difficult right now. I don't have a microphone on my computer, so I'm on my phone too.
Okay.
So basically, my name is Brad Olson. I do not have a business in the Park Avenue plan, but I do have a business at 14115 Southeast McLaughlin, which is just south of Courtney. And I just wanted to say that the automobile repair part of this needs to be removed. Like Sami said, we have 26 employees at Olson Brothers, and I know by our payroll what we're paying our employees to work here and what we're paying in payroll taxes. And I just see that the value of the property of McLaughlin dictates what the businesses are that are going to come. And so we all, not too long ago, were seeing that we had these dance clubs on McLaughlin, and they were such a, a disappointment to everyone. And then all of a sudden you saw them all disappear because all of a sudden the values of the property outweighed the use. So if you have a use and you have people that are willing to pay those rents or to purchase those properties, and if it's in the auto industry, just because it's in the auto industry doesn't mean that they're going to just buy a car once a year. What we're saying is that maybe somebody buys a car at a dealership, or maybe somebody buys a car from Weston over there at Cascadia. They still need to have their car worked on. And so those cars are being brought into the shop for multiple things, for gas, for chains, for oil changes, services needed. And so it takes technicians, which is a very highly skilled job today. We have a towing company here, so we have 4 tow trucks. It's very skilled position today to be driving a tow truck. These cars are extremely expensive, and they take people that are capable of thinking and using very expensive tow equipment to move these from one place to another. So I think that if we pay somebody to go out and do a survey of the area, and my concern is that yes, it is stopping right now at Courtney, but I'm only a half a block away from Courtney. So why would the first phase not go to the second phase? And if they don't like automobiles in phase 1, they won't like automobiles in phase 2. And let's just say that that goes to Concord. Concord goes to Jennings. Jennings goes to Gladstone. I can see this whole ripple effect going right on through. Oh, it was okay here at Park Avenue, so then it must be okay here in Oak Grove. So I'm very concerned. Like Sami said, I'm 62 years old. That's not very old, but I'm looking at my exit plan too. And I'm looking at what's the future use for this property. We're a gas station, we're a tow company, we're a complete automobile service facility. So why would they want to hinder that? It's something that's happened since 1968. So I know I'm taking your time. I know I'm not in your area, but I'm just 5 minutes of walking to the south. And I'm very concerned that we paid a lot of money to have people do a survey of the market for what people want. But I would like to see a list of all the people that were contacted that own businesses, not just on McLaughlin, but businesses around McLaughlin. And show me that list of people that had some type of a communication with that company that did this survey.
Brad, that is time.
And I'm all for businesses that are on the side streets. I don't have a problem with that. But we do have Oakfield, River Road, and the trolley trail. That's where people should be moving with their feet and their bikes, not on McLaughlin Boulevard.
Brad,
and like the other said, sorry, I can't hear you. I know you're cutting me off, but I see a guy right over there across from Wells Fargo laying on the street with 5 shopping carts, and his garbage is spread all over the place every single day. That's where we should be putting our money is to clean up our neighborhood so that more people will move here. Sorry for allowing me to go on. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Brad. All right. And next we are going to go into, we're going to hear from Park Avenue Community Advisory Committee Chair Valerie Chapman as on the agenda. Valerie, if you could go ahead and raise your hand for me and I can bring you over. There we go. Okay, Valerie, if you can just go ahead and unmute yourself. There we go. And please go forth.
All right. Chair Smith, County Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the work of the Park Avenue Community Advisory Committee. I'm the chair of that committee. I'm also the vice chair of the Oak Grove CPO. And as a member of the Oak Grove CPO, I am a representative to the McLaughlin Area Plan Implementation Team, or MAPIT. I want to note that the Park Avenue project was sponsored by MAPIT and created in accordance with the goals and the guidelines of the McLaughlin Area Plan, which is a plan created with extensive involvement and outreach to residents, businesses, and property owners. And I will note that the first MAP chair was our own Commissioner Paul Savas. So it was a lot of work and a lot of community input. So one of the projects of MAP was to, and I'm quoting this, develop commercial or mixed use activity clusters at targeted locations within the plan area. So these activity clusters do not include the whole of McLaughlin Boulevard. I want to reiterate that. They were designed to create just limited cluster areas. The Park Avenue project was funded by a series of grants, and it's the first mixed-use activity cluster to be really considered. I believe all the members of the committee feel proud of the work that we did together and the outreach that we did, which was made harder because of the pandemic. There were many opportunities for area businesses, along with residents and property owners, to voice their ideas, their hopes, their dreams, as we went through this. In fact, in phase 1 of the Park Avenue project, business owners gathered at the Bomber restaurant and were overwhelmingly in favor of changes that would increase density and promote job creation and new business opportunities. And that comes from the notes of that business meeting. At the same time, residents of the area, and what feels sad today is it feels like there's residential people that are standing in a great divide with the business people. The residents live here 24 hours a day. This is our home, and we have much of our lives and our money invested in the area too. So this is where we live. And what we hear from the concerns of people who live here is that McLaughlin is unsafe for pedestrians. It lacks sidewalks. It's not safe to cross. There are few businesses that serve the community. There's too many car-related businesses. We hear that over and over again, and that the area is often unsightly and uninviting. So what we're trying to do is, the work of the committee was to take into consideration the concerns of both the businesses and the residential members that make a whole community and should be working together. We spent time learning about various designs and zoning changes that would help the Park Avenue area begin to develop in a way that would be helpful to everyone. A key part of our work was the decision to limit any new car-related businesses. And I want to be very clear about that limitation. Current businesses are welcome and good members of our community. They should not be affected. It is our understanding that rules can be written into ZDOs that would allow non-conforming users to continue to exist and even to improve and expand. Of the approximately 35 commercial properties in the area we're talking about, 15 are currently car-oriented. All we're asking is to diversify business and create an area that is conducive to use by pedestrians and cyclists, as well as those who drive. The community intentionally increased the number of housing units that could be built in an area. in recognition of a housing shortage and the emergency shortage that the commissioners have noted. And that it also addresses the need to for more density to encourage business and job creation. By limiting car-related businesses, the cluster area, just the cluster area, will become more amenable to residential use and therefore attractive to developers. After completing and presenting our work, I was really sorry as a member of MAPIT to hear competing ideas coming from other business members of MAPIT, because MAPIT is a sponsor of the Park Avenue project, and they were involved all the way through the whole project. One idea that we heard at the last MAPIT meeting was the idea from the business community to enlarge the C3 area, incorporating into it the MR1, the multifamily area that currently is a buffer between the C3 and the broader residential zone. And let me tell you, that increased a lot of concern in the residential area.
Valerie, that has been 5 minutes. If you can start to wrap up, please.
Can I finish?
Yes, I mean, just please wrap
I
up. Thank you.
want to say that the other thing that we did with this project is that we created connections into the community, bike paths and pedestrian paths. Those are only wanted if they are going to connect us to a pedestrian, community-friendly area. It doesn't make any sense to open up our neighborhood to a car zone if there is not something there for people to walk to. In that case, we would choose not to open up the neighborhood with paths because we would want to protect the neighborhood instead. In closing, I just want to say thank you for the work that everyone has done, and that we believe the Park Avenue project builds on the work of MAP1, MAPIT, and is a work that reflects the deep concern and engagement of our community. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Valerie. I have a question for Jennifer. I'll put you on the spot again, Jennifer, sorry. And that is that there's a lot of validity to some of the MAP1 and MAP2 and MAPIT goals. And I guess just so everyone listening understands, I think that the business community was excited about some of the work, but I think what triggered a lot of this upset was the restrictions and the other concerns that affected their property value and their livelihoods. And I don't think that was anticipated by a lot of the businesses, but I would love to hear from MAPIT when they get back together and really hear back from the community. So Jennifer, is there other ways where you can have activity clusters and without imposing restrictions on these properties? Because I know activity clusters is a broad term, and I assume it is, and vertical housing can be done as well. It seems to me there can be a mixture of all of that.
I guess I would say the board, I think, has a wide range of options in terms of how you could approach this plan. And I'm probably not prepared to, give you the full list tonight, but yes, you could treat this differently than this draft that you've received. I think the concern, for example, you could choose maybe to restrict some auto-oriented uses, but not all auto-oriented uses. You could still increase the density and consider reducing parking requirements. You could still adopt standards related to better connectivity and different building design standards. In the future, I mean, it's way outside the scope of this project, but if you decided that, I've heard some testimony to the effect that maybe this isn't the right place for this activity cluster. Now, with the light rail station being there, that's the reason for the focus. But I certainly understand the testimony about the character of McLaughlin currently. So potentially there's, other places you could do activity clusters, certainly. So I think there's a lot of options. I think the concern is that if you continue to have McLaughlin be essentially an auto-oriented area around the light rail station, that the folks who want to see change in the area, it won't come. I mean, that's the concern. So maybe there's a way to thread that needle and think about, not allowing additional fast food businesses, for example, but allowing auto repair. I mean, there are different ways that the board could consider that, and staff could certainly be prepared to provide you with those options.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Back to you, Dylan, for the next section.
Okay, very good. I'll also quickly relay that Chair Judy Smith thanks all for participating. She had to leave for an appointment just now. Staff will brief her on the remainder of the discussion. So that went out in the chat. Okay, I'll share my screen one more time here. Now we are going to move on to the open forum section. We're slated to first hear from other Park Avenue Community Advisory Committee members and others who live inside the area, and then we will hear comments from others who live or own a business outside of the Park Avenue area. If you are interested in giving comments for either of these sections, please go ahead and raise your hand now, regardless of the section. I'm trying to get a head count, just looking at the time. Thank you. Okay, very good. Vice Chair Savas, I would recommend, if we want to try to still end this or target to end it by 6:30, maybe we allow for a minute and a half per person at this time. Does that sound okay to you or not?
Yeah, I see a lot of hands. I'd like to hear from as many as possible. So I'll trust your judgment there, Dylan.
Okay, very good. So then we'll go with that. We'll go with 90 seconds. And also, do we want to hear them in that order, or is at this point, is it okay if we just do the
just open it up?
Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much. First up, Danielle Lohman. Danielle Lohman, you are up. You have 90 seconds, so please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I hope you stop me if you can't hear me. I don't know, that doesn't make any sense.
Go ahead.
Great. I did want to talk, I know we spent a lot of time talking about businesses and being friendly to auto dealerships, but and I'm glad that we just did touch on the transit station and the person who spoke last, because we do have a transit station here, love it or hate it, right? It is here. And we have a lot of people who are commuting into this area on an almost daily basis, and a lot of people who live in this area, Willamette View, Rose Villa, myself, in the Park Avenue area, a few blocks away from the station. And when I was reviewing the survey from all of the sessions where we gather information from people, there were common threads, right? The common threads were that we wanted businesses in the area that served the residents and that served the people passing through, not just to buy a car, but who lived here and who spent money here. We had Lee Kell from the Elks. I'm sure he'll be speaking later, but who wanted to make the Elks more community focused. Of course, they are right on McLaughlin. And we do have I looked, the number is about 25,000 cars a day passing on McLaughlin. And we also have folks that are commuting now, and to say, well, we don't need to make McLaughlin more pedestrian friendly because we have so many cars, so let's not bother.
Danielle, that is a minute and a half here.
Okay, but I do think we should have some focus on what the residents in this area who live here, work here, play here would be using these businesses for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Next up is going to be Casey Snowberger. Casey, you can unmute yourself and you have a minute and a half here. Thank you very much.
Hi, yeah, I was part of the committee, and I just wanted to say that I support most of the values and all that sort of thing, but I did vote against it. And the reason I did, and I know that it's upsetting some folks, is that I'm really concerned about the limitations that we have in there. I personally would rather us see other things than automotive dealerships and that whatnot, but at the same time they're there and I want to support them and encourage them. I want to encourage other businesses. So I certainly want the language in that to say we're encouraging these things, we're encouraging community, we're encouraging all this other stuff and not necessarily the limitations. Second, I want to reiterate the why this was sort of, we got funding for some of this because it was so close to the Park Avenue station. If the Park Avenue station wasn't there, we wouldn't have been doing some of this stuff. And I think that has to do with the cluster, right? So I think that we could really look at this and limit some of this stuff to say, this is just a half mile from the radius of the station, and we're focusing this community cluster based on the station. It's not about going south of McLaughlin. Those are going to have separate studies, absolutely different. Another thing I would like to say is something about the overlay that was done about cannabis when cannabis and marijuana was put forth. I know that there was limitations the county put forth on McLaughlin. And I just think that maybe there's something that we could consider for this particular area, maybe within a half mile of saying, okay, no more new particular business listings or whatever they're called, permits for this particular area for automotive. I know that's restrictive. I'm just trying to say if there's another way we could layer something in there.
Okay, Casey, that's time. Thank you. Very good. Next, we're going to go to Peter Starzinski. Peter, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks for having me on. I live on Linden Brook and Linden Lane inside the little area there. I am married. I have 2 6-year-old twin boys. We've been here for about 5 years in this home. And I want to make 2 points. I don't have as much time as the business interests, but I want to make 2 quick points, which is number 1, I walk on McLaughlin all the time with my kids. And we do go into the few restaurants and stores that are there. My kids learn to ride their bikes on that sidewalk piece of it, going looped on the trolley trail. We are constantly looking for more walkable, fun things to do. The second point I'll say is we moved in this house 5 years ago when my kids were very small. We're growing out of this house and we're honestly debating whether we're going to stay and expand our home here or look for a new neighborhood. And one of the number one criteria that we are looking at is how walkable Oak Grove becomes. And I think there's a lot of families like ours out there that are really interested in this neighborhood, but are really just not interested in having more car lots. That is just not conducive to a family-friendly environment that we need in Oak Grove. Thank you.
Very much for that, Peter. Okay, next we are going to go to Ann Muir. Ann Muir, you are on and you have 90 seconds, please. Oh, Ann, we can't hear.
Thank you.
There you go. Go ahead. Very good.
I'm Ann Muir. I've served as the vice chair on the Citizens Committee. I am a property owner, resident, taxpayer, and voter living right here. I live on Oatfield between Evergreen and Silver Springs, and my property backs up to the C3 zone. So I'm right in the middle of all of the discussion. I just want to remind people that yes, this is a significant change. We are suggesting a significant change to a very small part of McLaughlin Avenue there, which is precipitated by the Mac station being there. So that's important to remember. It is significant. We know significant change. We want to change the environment of the busy, fast street with the concept of these clusters. 2 important points I want to make about the potential growth and change is that a viable commercial neighborhood that we're talking about there is dependent on significantly higher population density. And so the housing projects are initial keys to any successful transformation there. And the housing is significant to the need. We know in the county and in this area particularly as with the Mac station, we have a huge need for affordable housing, for diverse housing. And
that is time.
Oh my God.
Yes.
You know, I'm just going to say one more thing. We were told we would have 3 minutes to speak at the beginning. And then I felt like the meeting was hijacked. And now the residents we've lost our voice. That's all. Okay. I'm very sorry about that.
Thank you very much. I do not believe we said we would give 3 minutes at the very end, but I could be wrong. Next, we are going to go to Laura Edmonds. Laura, no stranger to the county. Please go ahead and unmute yourself. Go right ahead. You have 1.5 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. Am I good?
Yes, you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
okay.
Yes.
Great, thanks. So I'll be really quick. So Vice Chair Savas and the rest of commissioners that are still on the call, pleasure to be here with you this evening. So part of the MABA group approached me because they have a lot of concerns over the limited outreach to the business community in the general region, where these changes, this Park Avenue development plan could affect so many of them. When we talked about this, the concerns pretty much are the language. that were thrown in at the last minute. And I realize after Valerie, I'm listening and I'm going to change this a little bit. Valerie mentioned that there was past business input clear back when, you know, you met at the Bomber and some other points of conversation, but all of a sudden the language has changed. And so this is concerning for the business community. It's limiting, it's, you know, the limiting, the prohibiting certain businesses that are auto related. It seems very, very egregious approach to when some of the businesses help to strengthen the neighborhood and provide family wage jobs. When we look at an established, established businesses, there could be some negative effect on those. There could be overflow. If this does start to encroach farther down, this could actually affect other businesses. So I think that really needs to be a little bit more thoroughly vetted with the potential of risk to others.
Laura, that's been a minute and a half.
Okay, but so basically it's just, I think that there's a lot of concern with the language. And when we look at this, it is limiting. And if we truly are looking to promote family wage jobs in this community and to be supportive of, you know, reducing barriers in property development, creating prosperity by fostering balance and economic development in Clackamas County. These are your words, not ours. These are off the county website. This is really actually concerning because this is exactly opposite of what you stated you want to do for a community. So thank you for hearing us tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
All right, thank you very much, Laura, appreciate it. Okay, next we are going to go to Nate Ember. Nate Ember, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and you have a minute and a half. We don't, there you go.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say I am frustrated that, you know, this platform is being utilized by both the business community and the commission at this point, at the end of the project, to where people are finally expressing reactions when we really hoped to have greater collaboration with the business community throughout, and it was really lacking in the process. So that aside, you know, I think that what this project is trying to do is balance land use, because our urban land close to transit and close to neighborhoods full of people is a precious and limited resource. Right now, many of those acres are dedicated to cars that just sit there. We do value local business. You know, I very much hear what like Brad Olson said. He's got pretty good employment density there on for auto repair. So I hear that concern, and I think the plan should be adapted for concerns like that. But I think car dealerships really are a problem that this community has expressed for a long time. We have greater needs for community health, for housing affordability that aren't being met. And that land, I think, has a higher and better use than cars sitting there. You know, when people need to buy a car, that land use could move somewhere else that's not valuable urban land. And those properties change hands constantly. So it can't be argued that those are local businesses serving the community. I would say most of the people who work there probably don't come from this community.
Nate, that is a minute and a half.
So that's our perspective.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, next we are going to go to Paul Jackson. Paul, you are on. You can unmute yourself. There we go. And go ahead. You have a minute and a half. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm a commercial real estate professional. I've been active in the metro area for about 30 years. And my concern is that this plan, it's been done in other areas of the metro, usually on communities that are a little more blighted. McLaughlin, and specifically McLaughlin, generates hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue every year. The proposed uses and regulations that limit the uses there are essentially going to downvalue the property. The highest and best use is what they are right now. Putting, you know, residential there is going to devalue the properties. This zoning could be interpreted as a regulatory condemnation by some, which could cause some issues if it does happen. And you know, it's not, you're devaluing. You're gonna end up reducing tax revenue. You're going to reduce, you know, eliminate high-paying jobs and replacing them with minimum wage jobs in the boutiques and things located in the bottom of these high-rise residential projects. You know, those are the main things I see, is that the effect is you're going to devalue something that's a valuable asset, as opposed to working with it, cleaning it up, putting things on the ancillary areas that you're talking about, and allowing, you know, a more natural progression of commercial and residential development, hand in hand along McLaughlin, as opposed to forcing changes because they look cleaner.
Paul, that's been a minute and a half.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, very good. Next up, we're going to go to Dustin Philippec. Dustin, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Very good. You have a minute and a half. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Dustin Philippec. I was a part of the Park Avenue Community Advisor Committee. I own a home in the area, and I am a certified public accountant as well as visually impaired. I moved to the area because of the closeness of the light rail, as well as the accessibility that the trolley trail provided to myself. I joined this committee to help shape and improve the community that has a great potential. I believe that our committee focused on building upon the desirable aspects of the area and tried to apply those aspects to the less desirable areas. The plan that we submitted focused on building an accessible, safe, livable, and desirable community. I understand that change is scary, change is difficult, but change can be positive. The great thing about change is that it happens over time. The plan that our committee submitted allows the area to improve and adapt to the change in a positive manner over time in a constructive way. It is a plan that will allow others with disabilities and visual impairments like myself to live closer to our main source of transportation, as well as an area that can support our needs with doctors, restaurants, and other service providers, an area that would allow me to walk down the road without constant worry that I'm going to be struck by a vehicle. I encourage you to continue with the plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Dustin. Appreciate it. Okay, next we are going to hear from Edward Cranston. Edward Cranston, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself. You have a minute and a half. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'll make it very short. Thank you, Paul, for staying with us. I've had an opportunity to talk to Paul over this conversation for many years. My opinion hasn't changed. I don't like where the county's going. My employees don't like where the county's going. We're not impressed with the plan as it's being processed. McLaughlin Boulevard is a major highway. I understand those individuals who want to live in this area, want to have a place to ride their bicycles and walk. Stay off of McLaughlin is my comment. Use McLaughlin for what it's for. It's a highway. Thank you for the time, Paul. Dylan, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Edward. Okay, next we are going to go to Jason Scott. Jason Scott, you can unmute yourself. Very good. You have a minute and a half. Go right ahead.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. One of the things I'd like to say, everybody's focused so much on just the auto industry and that on here. There's some other aspects of it too. One of the things that really needs to transpire is we just need to open this up and make it easier for more businesses to come into the area. Let's not eliminate things that possibly provide huge tax revenues. And because the county is always, the state, everybody's always short on revenues. That's one of the big problems. Open it up, make it available to whatever businesses can and will be there, design their facilities, but whatever. Don't eliminate high-paying jobs and replace them with minimum wage jobs. We owned a restaurant. Our people did not make a lot of money, not because we didn't want to, but most people don't want to come in and pay $30 for a hamburger just to be able to give somebody $25 an hour for wages. It's not going to happen. So if you're going to replace high-paying jobs with low-paying ones, that's bad. Let the owners decide what the highest and best use is for their property. It's just ridiculous. Open up the potential. You're opening up the potential for land use lawsuits, I think. Ultimately, if everything's restricted and you can't do anything and you lose the value of your property, then we're all going to be in trouble. And a lot of people are not going to take very kindly to that. And just for that, most people around here, a lot of friends that have businesses have worked a lifetime to build this, and now it's all disappearing because we're having all these limits placed upon us.
Jason, that is a minute and a half. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, we are almost done. Next up is Jamie Mathis. Jamie, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. I have lived in this area for the last 5 years. I've lived in Oregon City the rest of my life before that. So I have an 8-year-old son. I'm a business owner, as is my husband. And like I said, we own property here right off of Park Avenue. And my son and my husband and I use the trolley trail constantly. We have to cross McLaughlin to get there, and it is a harrowing adventure every time, even though we cross right at Park Avenue where there are well-marked crosswalks. So there are not just drug users and undesirables crossing the street. There are tax-paying, job-providing family people that are using McLaughlin as a thoroughfare to get to these places that we're apparently supposed to confine ourselves to. That is not on McLaughlin. And my first job was working at the Bomber. So I am directing this to the commissioners and Punky Scott. I worked for her and also knew her father, Art Lacey. And that property is not just a money generating cash cow. It is a piece of the community and it is a piece of local history. So to the point of those who have said that car dealerships make McLaughlin, there has been a lot of history and a lot of other opportunities here for business and communities in the years preceding the domination of the auto industry. My understanding is this plan as it stands does not limit the ability for current businesses to continue on in perpetuity. It simply asks that they not sell their properties if they are like the Bomber to auto industry.
Jamie, that is a minute. Jamie, that is a minute and a half.
I appreciate that. I will continue and finish my sentence by saying that the residents have just as much say in this as the businesses. It is not a zero-sum game, and we need to be able to have spaces where we can all live and work together. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Jamie, for that. Okay, we have just 2 more. It's Jennifer Harding. Jennifer, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, this is actually Terry Gilreath, co-owner of Eastside Athletic Club. I'm just using Jennifer's computer this evening.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. I just want to concur with what Brad Olson said, that whatever happens in phase 1 is probably going to be emulated as you go south on McLaughlin. So it really does matter. All businesses matter, all residents' opinions matter. So anything that's a takeaway, in my opinion, right now, specifically during COVID pandemic times, is just unfair and anti-American as far as business goes. We're down 50%. We've been closed 5 out of 10 months. A lot of businesses on McLaughlin are struggling to even stay open right now. So to take something away from us like a future sale opportunity, I think is totally unjust and once again, un-American. I'm also an ex-professional athlete and I'm a cyclist as well. And McLaughlin will never be a cycling avenue. River Road, the trolley trail, fantastic work done there, and Oatfield Road are just wonderful for commuting back and forth for a cyclist. I own property also on Sunnyside Road, which was just condemned, the sidewalk 10 feet in front of my property, to make it more pedestrian friendly. I've been there for 37 years. There are no pedestrians walking in front of my property on Sunnyside Road. They use their cars to go up and down that basically highway called Sunnyside Road, which is even less of a highway than McLaughlin. So I just want people to look at what's really happening in the area and think about what we've all just been through and how we can come together now and maybe not hurt people, but just help people.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Jennifer. Appreciate the comment. And the last comment is going to go to Barbara West. Barbara West, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. There we go, and you have a minute and a half. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just very briefly, I have lived all over the country, and I can't think of any worse rule than let the people who own things decide. End of comment.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Barbara. Appreciate that. Very good. Okay, let me see. We are now at the end of our session. We started a couple minutes late. We are ending a couple minutes late. So unless any commissioners would like to give a brief comment at the end here, you're welcome to do so now. I know that Commissioner Fisher and Commissioner Savas and Commissioner Schull have been with us the entire time.
Yeah, I'll just jump in real quick and say thank you to everyone who participated. I find the opportunity just to hear directly from our residents and our businesses really, really useful. I must say I was a little challenged with the shorter time period for the last portion of this session, but I think it was learningful and informative, and hoping to have more conversations so that we can continue to engage on this and other topics. So thank you very much.
Very good. Do you want to say anything, Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, I didn't know if Commissioner Schull wanted to say anything. I just want to remind, well, maybe not everyone's aware of this, but basically the Board of County Commissioners back late last year approved 2 meetings for, to host the businesses. So this was designed for the businesses, to these 2 meetings. And we did allow public comment in this particular portion, which is not what we originally anticipated, but we're okay with that. There has been, through the years, I want to thank all the members of the Park Avenue Committee for their work. They hosted and did a lot of meetings, and there was a lot of public comment, a lot of public opportunity. And frankly, going forward, there'll be more of that. So this is not the end. This is not the beginning. We're just midstream. So I'm sure there'll be other conversations, but I think the biggest reason the Board of County Commissioners wanted to give the businesses a couple meetings to be heard was because at the very last 2 meetings, or the second to the last meeting, I believe, is when a lot of this language came out that was restrictive, and they didn't really have adequate opportunity at that point in time. I think a lot of them were, frankly, they even shared with me, were willing and excited about the project. But when they realized their property restrictions were suddenly placed on them at the latter part of this process, they really wanted a voice. They got a little bit of opportunity to speak at the last Park Avenue meeting, but they were not provided an opportunity when it was presented to the Board of County Commissioners. So this was an opportunity for the Board of County Commissioners to hear from them on somewhat of an equal footing, so to speak, but really not that equal. All to say, there's more to come. I want to thank everyone for participating. And if you have any ideas or submissions in the future, please email us. And unless Commissioner Schull has any comments.
I don't think so, and I think I can
Seeing
take
none,
it.
thank you all for attending tonight.
Very good. Thank you, Vice Chair Savas. Just to go over next steps real quickly, the Board of County Commissioners will have a policy session on this matter in the future. It's a couple of things I'm going to share very quickly here. Here is the Park Avenue webpage. You can find information about the project and in the future notification about the forthcoming policy session. That information will be listed here on this page. It was shared in the chat earlier. It is clackamas.us/planning/Park Ave. We are also collecting the email addresses of the attendees from this session. We will go ahead and email you to let you know that way as well about the future policy session when it is scheduled. My thanks to everyone who called in tonight and to the Board of County Commissioners for holding this. For all of us here at Clackamas County, have a good night.